And so in a situation like that, goodness gracious, in a situation like that, you're the offender. So the person that sent you the invite, you owe them an explanation. You owe them an I'm sorry. And it should have been immediate. But when it isn't, the person on the other end, how do they feel? And then how do they receive that? How do they receive that? If they're really hurt and they're really offended, they may tell you, well, you know what, that really hurt my feelings, that you couldn't even have common courtesy enough to just show up. You didn't even have common courtesy enough to let me know that something had happened. You know, oftentimes you could be thinking that something happened to the person, and maybe they were in a terrible car accident, or again, maybe something else happened in their family, and they needed to go and be of assistance or be of comfort. So you just don't know, and when you don't receive that information, when you don't receive the details, it leaves your mind open for a lot of things, and you can just think anything might have happened. You can think anything about it, but when there's no communication involved, lack of communication is terrible. Lack of communication leaves the other person open and vulnerable to a lot of thoughts and emotions that they didn't even have to go through by you simply picking up and making a phone call. Sometimes it's more appropriate to make a phone call than to send a text message. Um, People can miss the text message if they are at the event that they invited you to. They may miss the text message. So if you just make a phone call, and if you make a phone call and you don't get an answer, they don't answer, either keep calling or follow up again then with a text message. I know my family and I have a system by which sometimes we might send a message. Sometimes you might not be able to say what you need to say in that moment. So we just have a little code. And if we put in a certain code, then that family member, the person that's receiving it, knows that it is urgent. And whatever it is that you're doing, you need to get back to that person immediately. So maybe you have something like that set up. Or if you don't, maybe this is a good time to set something like that. Set something like that up, and it can be very simple. The code that you set up is something that you and your family members decide, or you and your circle decide that if they see this code or if they see this text message, then they know. Everyone knows this is important. It needs immediate attention. Perhaps a person is in danger, or something like that. Whatever the situation is, but you have to decide. But when you offend the person, when you offend a person and you don't say anything about it at all, and you know that you've offended the person, you know that you've hurt their feelings, it is rude beyond measure to not offer any explanation, to not offer any details, to not offer a phone call, a text message, or anything to say that you're sorry. And the longer that you go without saying you're sorry, the harder it becomes to say, hey, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean that. I didn't mean it that way. If it's something that you said, then you try to explain it away. But oftentimes, once the words are out, well, not oftentimes, all the time, once the words are out, you can't take those words back. You can't take the words back. You can modify what you said or take the sting out of what you said by simply apologizing. And there are different ways to apologize. The most effective way to apologize is to say these words. Watch my lips. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry that I hurt your feelings. I'm truly sorry that I wasn't able to make it. I'm truly sorry that I wasn't able to call. And then back that up with something significant. Like the reason why I wasn't able to call was I got stopped by the police. I was speeding trying to get there. I got stopped by the police. And I got taken into jail. You still get one phone call. So then you can call and say, hey, the worst has happened. I'm in jail. I know you're, over here, but can you send someone over to get me out? The simplest way to say I'm sorry is to say I am sorry. You can say it with flowers, but make sure you say the words. The flowers don't mean a darn thing if you don't say the words. The words are the most important thing that the person on the other end wants to hear. They want to hear the words. They don't want to see the flowers. They want to hear the words. You can say it with dinner. But if you can actually get the person to go out to dinner, before you go, before you get all dressed up, before you leave the house, before you meet at the restaurant, you need to say the words, I am sorry. I apologize. Please forgive me. There's so many ways to say that I'm sorry. But the best way to say it is to say, I'm sorry. I'm also bringing this up because all of us have had a situation where we've been in a situation like this. But I'm also bringing it up because someone asked me about it over the weekend. Okay, well, Lady Victoria, how do you apologize to a person, or how do you get a person to apologize to you when they've offended you? Now, that's the other part of saying I'm sorry. You can't make people tell you that they're sorry, because you want the apology, you want it to be sincere, you want it to come from the heart. So you can't force other people to apologize, even when they need to apologize. Sometimes we try to elicit a response from a person by saying, this thing happened between us, and I'm really sorry if I offended you in some way. If it was something I said or did that offended you, I apologize. I repent to you. I want you to know how sorry I am. Please forgive me. Now, oftentimes we take that position when we are the one that's been offended. You're not the offender, but you're the offendee. You're the person that has been offended. And so oftentimes to try and elicit a response or an apology from the other person, you take the lower seat and apologize for something that you've not done, but you want them to apologize. So you apologize first. Now, oftentimes in some manners, in some matters, that works, it's effective. And the other person realizes, oh my gosh, I should say something. I should say that I'm sorry. And so they would say, no, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. It was me. You know what? You don't even have to apologize. I'm the one that should apologize. I'm sorry. So please forgive me. And so sometimes that works. But when the offense is large, when the offense is really huge, and you're not the person that determines how large it is, you are not the person. When you're the offendee, the person that did the offending, you are not the person to measure the other person's response. You're not the person to measure the other person's feelings. You're not the person to measure the other person's emotions. You are on the other side of the offense. The person that has received the offense, they're the ones that may be hurt, angry, bitter, feel left out, feel kicked to the curb, feel a number of things, feel a number of ways. And all they need from you is to say, I'm sorry. You can't tell them, I don't know what you're upset about. This was nothing. You can't measure that for them because you don't know how they feel. You don't know how it disrupted their inner man by what you've done or what you said. You can't measure that. Not for them. Not in a situation like that. So you have to take their feelings and their emotions at face value. What they're displaying is how oftentimes they truly feel. Now, some people are good at covering up their emotions because they don't want you to see how offended they are. And so they may cover their emotions with a smile, with reserved behavior, with the blank face. You're talking, you're speaking, and they're just, because they've been offended. Pardon me, my throat gets dry when I'm talking, so a sip of water, thank you. But you can't measure their emotions for them, and you can't categorize it for them. You can't say you shouldn't feel hurt by this because whatever you say after because, they're not even trying to hear it. They haven't heard it. They don't want to hear it. They don't care what you're saying. They're looking for 2 or 3 words. I am sorry. I'm sorry. 2 to 3 words. Small sentence. And it should be pure from the heart. Sometimes we apologize, and sometimes we apologize. Well, I'm sorry then. Get on my nerve. Every little thing hurt your feelings. Every time I do something, That won't work either. That doesn't sound like or feel like a sincere apology. That sounds like that you're mad and you're angry. You're upset that I feel the way I do. Now, again, sometimes in relationships, these things happen and these things transpire, and so the two people in the relationship know each other, should know each other well enough to know how far they can take things like that. But again, if it's in the workplace, if it's in a friendship circle, if it's just between you and a friend, perhaps you've offended someone in your friendship circle and other people are involved. And so they weigh in and they can have an impact on one side or the other. In situations like that, I say, mind your business and mind your manners. That means zip it and clip it. Don't get in between two other people that are having a disagreement unless you are invited to offer an opinion, unless you are invited to offer a point of view for clarity or for understanding, or the two people are trying to come together on how they feel and what's going on. And so sometimes they need an intercessor to come in and to help them get it all figured out. So if it's a situation like that, then you may enter and you may offer some response. But you still have to keep it unbiased. You have to keep it unbiased because you are the third party. You're not A or B. You've only been invited in to offer an opinion or offer clarity perhaps to maybe what one of the other persons said, what the person who did the offending, you may be trying to offer clarity to the offendee to say, that's not what they were saying. Well, I thought they were saying such and such, but they said it to that person and you're just a stander by and you heard it. You probably heard it different because they weren't speaking directly to you. Whatever the dynamic is between those two people, the person that was being spoken to oftentimes received it in a way and in a manner that you did not, because they were not speaking to you. So there's so many things that that can go into saying I'm sorry. But again, if you offended a person and they need an apology, offer it. So what do you do, Lady Victoria, when the person knows that they've offended you? They know that they hurt your feelings. They know that they said or did something to make you angry, and they never offer an apology. You see the person in another setting, your Facebook friends or what have you online, and they never say anything. You make a post, they respond to it or something like that. You have other things that happen in your life, celebratory events and what have you, and they want to be a part. So they offer, holiday wishes and birthday wishes and laughing at things you post, but they never say I'm sorry. They never take a moment and say, hey, wait a minute. Before I can do this, I need to do that. It's back here. So what happens to the offendee, the person that has been offended, when the offender never offers an apology? You move on with your life. You don't carry the baggage. The thing that you've been internalizing, you release it. You let it go. You forgive them, and you live a happy and full life. Because you carrying around that baggage, you carrying around that excess, it becomes a cancer to you. And before you know it, you have this huge mountain of anger and bitterness and just angst. You don't want to live with that in your life. And you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't at all. So you forgive them. and you move on. And the next time you see them, say hello if you can. If you can't, then maybe you still have some roots from the tree that you uprooted by saying that you were going to forgive. So if the roots are still there, honey, cut those roots. Dig those roots all the way up, because the longer you carry it, the longer the roots grow, the more they extend out, and they can affect other areas of your life, including your physical, your mental, your emotional, and spiritual health. Did you hear me? They can affect your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health. That's 4 areas. You don't want that baggage in your life. You shouldn't have to carry it. You shouldn't even want it. So if the expected apology never comes, you forgive. You come to terms with it. You release it, because when you release it, you free yourself. It's not that you're freeing them, but you want to be free in your own life. So you release it. You forgive, and you move on. You'll be the better person. You'll be heaping coals of fire upon their head when you can do that earnestly and honestly. So, saying I'm sorry is often hard, but it doesn't have to be. If you know that you've offended someone, simply say I'm sorry. Again, you can do it with flowers, say the words. You can do it with dinner, say the words. You can do it with a gift, but say the words. Say the word first, and then offer the gift. Both will be well received. And I think it would be better received when you say I'm sorry first, instead of just, she comes home and there's flowers. Or he comes home and it's a special dinner. They don't want the flowers or the dinner. They want the words. If you can't speak the words, find a way. Search in your heart. Don't look at the other person and try to measure their feelings or their emotions. Just see what they're showing you. They're showing you that they're hurt by not communicating, by not engaging, by not interacting, or whatever it is. If it is your spouse, you live with them every day. So you should already be aware of those things. If it's a friend or a co-worker you're going to see at least 5 days out of the week. So then you have a working relationship with them, and the same thing, you might be acquainted with it. Even if you're not, your inner being will let you know, you need to fix this. Your inner being says to you, you know what, you hurt their feelings. You embarrassed them. You said something, you didn't have to say it that way. Or you said it a certain way, but they received it this way. So your inner man lets you know when you need to autocorrect. So listen and obey. This is Lady Victoria with Victoria's School of Etiquette, hoping that you have a wonderful start to your week. Remember, this is Mind Your Manners Monday, and as I always say, the manners that you practice at home are the ones that show up in public. Please like and share across your social media platforms, and I'll see you the next time. Bye for now.